So, hello. How's everyone doing? uh, 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 y'all let me know if you can hear me good. I tested with another mic yesterday. Not sure if that actually was the best. Good evening. Hope you're well. Try reaching out to your email on your website and Instagram. Skating Flames. What's your email? For these things here, I try and reply to the emails. Okay, cool. What's your email? Pop it up in the thing there, and I'll check to see if I got it. Think I seen a couple emails come in. I just hadn't had time to reply back to them yet. So I am going to jump right in here to kind of do just a quick, um, I guess, brief overview of what we've done the last 2 weeks. Or so. So I'll probably blow it up just a little more. I'm gonna set that off to the side. If you got any questions, yell it out or whatever. I'll try and chat about a few things. Let me get my red pen. Can you hear me now? Can you not hear me? I don't know what's going on. Check, 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 check. Mic check. 1, 2. Did the sound go out? So I'm not sure what's going on with my sound. Trying to remedy that and find a good microphone. I think I'm gonna need to get one of those ones that come straight to my mouth or something like right in here or something. I don't know. I'll figure something out. But okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna start this piece here. Kind of went over the stuff we done from last week. So the reference, if we just look at the reference for a minute, we could see, first off, her spine has some good movement, right? It's typically, this is what we call the S curve, because it's, S is obviously really curved, but your spine can only curve so much, but this is a slight S curve. It's got some movement happening, so we got our shoulders tilted here, and we have our hips tilted here. I figured this was some good reference. We got some muscle tone in here. We got tilt, very good tilt. So yeah, let's get this going here. Hello. So I'll start with that S, that slight S. And then I'll do like the oval, but then we can put the rib cage in here. I'm gonna just draw a straight line across up here. So this might be a little light right now until I get stuff where I need it. I'm doing a tilt for her shoulders. We got the oval, we got the rib cage. And we have her hip section down here. And then her legs kind of jet off here and here. Let me see. I'm going to try and get just a darker pencil so you can see this real quick. So I have a line here. I got a circle. We got the slight S curve, her hips, legs. And that's all I'm kind of concerned with right now. Like, I'm not worried about her hand right there just yet. I just want this same curve as what the reference is. So here we got her S curve, her chest, and her hips. And that's kind of what I got here. I got her, the chest, we got the slight curve, and her hips. And so right now what I'm doing
as I'm looking at just where this nipple comes down and where does it meet? So it meets this muscle or pouch, if you will, the crest or the crevice right here. As I'm looking down, you guys can't see that. Let me move some stuff around. So I'm looking at this nipple as a reference. What intersects coming down here? If I look at this one, what's coming down? And because her shoulders are tilted, her nipple should be tilted too, right? And then the same with her hips. Everything is tilted. And so that's what I'm gonna start with. I'm just gonna kind of draw some little circles for her breast real quick. And these are just reference points for what I'm looking at. And if I pull that line straight down, you can see, if I zoom in, so I have a nipple here, and I'm just pulling a line straight down. And we can see that it matches up with the reference where that pouch of a muscle is, right here, right? So that's my reference. And since I have this one reference, everything else can go off of that reference. And so now I'm looking at the whole breast and the nipple. And so if I put imaginary reference point on this side of her breast, what hits down in that area? I know there's just a little gap right here, and then her hip starts coming out here. And heck, that might be even too much of a gap. Let me pull this out here just a little more. But I hope everybody is doing all right. So right now I'm using reference in my brain, like we talked about with these pictures. So it's kind of the same with this picture here. She has a little more tilt than this one, but I'm using the outside of this breast to line up stuff over here on the picture that I'm drawing. So without me putting all these lines, I see this in my brain, if that makes sense. So I'm pulling the line in my brain straight down again, and just what falls here, you know, if I look at my reference and pull that down, it should be just slightly past her vagina here, and I'm okay with where it's falling. You can see I got my hand kind of back here because I'm lightly drawing stuff in. I'm not going in real hard just yet. Because a lot of this stuff may move around slightly, right? Kind of like I've done here. I thought this was the line, but I like this one better. So it's just slightly and lightly drawn in there because it may move again back over a little further that way. Everything is loose at this point, like hella loose. Even the spine, like I'm pulling it over some more this way. And on my reference, I can see, if I pull this into view, if I look at this breast here, her rib cage is right next to the side of that breast. So I know I need to make mine the exact same way. And now I'm just kind of feeling this right now. I'm not looking at any guidelines just yet. I'm just kind of pulling that line and seeing where it falls. And now I'm gonna use this nipple as a guide coming down. I'm gonna use this side of her chest up here. And then see, so there's nothing that's touching when I pull that line down, so there shouldn't be anything touching here. And so now if I want to look at this side again, and I'll use this bend in her waist. So if I bring that down like that, I know her hip comes out here, right? And then it comes down. What if I draw a line this way? What intersects here? Like what muscle groups? Like we got some abdomen muscles here. What comes all the way over here that intersects with that imaginary line? And like I said, we got some abs which are tilted now. So her body is tilted like that. This muscle should be a little lower than that muscle. So I'll draw that tilt to help me. And I can use her belly button as a reference. Make sure that's tilted. And again, I'm just using lines for everything. What comes across where her belly button is. And I know that curve should be somewhere around here. And so I think everything is kind of falling where it needs to be. I may need to move some stuff around. And this is a time where you kind of just sit back and look at your reference and then look at the picture and make sure you're happy with where stuff is falling. Again, we're in no rush. You shouldn't be in a rush if you're drawing something, whether it's for a client or not. You know, give yourself some time to even walk away from it for a day or so if you're not feeling it. And I think I was saying this last week too, right? See how much space is up here? If we look at our reference, right? I just seen somebody draw this yesterday or day before yesterday too. They were drawing a female pose of something. And there was breast everywhere, and that's just not normal. Even if you look at like comics like Vampirella and where they over exaggerate, they still have, women have pectorials right here. Breasts usually hang from that muscle. And there's a bunch of space up here because they have pecs like men have pecs. They just have breasts because they have children and they need to feed the children. feed the children. But this is so important when I see people that don't draw the pectoral muscles for women. It just, for whatever reason, it bothers me. And so I purposely make sure that I draw pectoral muscles. It's very important to do that. And now, because we have the space up here we're supposed to have, I can just block in her hand up here real quick. Like I said, I'm not going to focus too much on her hand, but we can just put it up there. And then her arms got some foreshortening stuff happening back here, but we're not too concerned with that. So if we take a break and let's look at what we got going on here, right? We have, I'm gonna draw this just a little darker so you can see it. So we have S-curve here, we got an S-curve here. I started with this line originally, but I slid it over just a bit. As I started putting these guidelines in, it helped me figure out, okay, I need to move that over. I used, and I'll draw a couple of little red marks for guidelines, or guide points, if you will. And I used her belly button as one. I used the side of her breast as one. And so with these little points that are on here, there's lines just coming everywhere in my brain. Like I said, this, for me, this is more of a, yes, torso series on how to draw better, or even if you're just starting, but it's mainly me putting my brain out there so you can see what I'm thinking, one, but then to use that and come up with your own, reference or guide or whatever. It's helped me so much to use those guides and to get the proportion. So now, because I've used that line and these points, things are proportioned to where they're supposed to be, instead of, having one line too long, or you getting frustrated. Because someone asked me in one of the comments, how do you get better? One is just, you have to draw all the time. Like, and I know people will be like, well, I do draw all the time. Like, when I say draw all the time, I mean, you shouldn't, any downtime you have, I know there's family and work and all that other stuff, but I mean, there's literally days and nights that I don't sleep because I'm doing something art related. And it just has to be, that takes you over. You see people that are very successful in business and stuff like that, and you just hear some of the stories of them, not sleeping, not eating, forgetting to eat and all that. I'm not saying that that's healthy and that you should go in that route, but I literally eat, think, and breathe art. And at work, if I'm taking a break, well, now I'm a tattoo artist, but prior to doing that, I would get to my job early and draw for 2 hours. No one else was in the office or anything. I'd be drawing. My lunch break, I'd be drawing. I get home, take care of family or whatever I had to do, Then I draw for another 2 hours while everybody else was asleep. It just, something has to click, and you have to draw all the time to get better. And sorry for going on that rant, but someone had mentioned how to get better, and that's how you do it. Now, yes, some people may have a natural God-given talent, born with the talent, whatever you want to call it. And some things become easier for them, but it's still, they even have to practice. And I'm always reminded of the Ratatouille, the movie, where the fat chef made this book, Anyone Can Cook. And I believe anyone can do anything if they practice at it. So anyway, let's get back to the drawing here. I'm pretty satisfied with where everything is laid out and going so far. And so now I can go in just a little darker because I've used all these guidelines. There's a little muscle here. So now I'm gonna just start lightly drawing in these muscle shapes and stuff on her. And wherever shadows hit, I'll draw that in really light. Again, because things may move around just a little bit. Not too much, but enough to where I don't want to draw a really hard line just yet. She has some kind of highlight happening here. Now, I don't know if this woman is a dancer or not, but her body comes off as dancer vibes to me. I could be totally wrong. And then we'll just draw her pants that come here. Okay, here's another thing, right? So if I'm comfortable with how this side of her body comes down, and then she has the bump here, right? And I'm gonna show you on a reference. Let me zoom in some, right? So right here, she has where her pant is, her waistline, where the pants are, is causing this little bump out. But it goes down, right? Then it comes across. If I look at mine and I come down from that bump and then go across, she has a considerable amount from the top of her, the top of her pants to at least where her vagina is. If I do that, I'm should be down here somewhere, right? So now I have to adjust my drawing a little bit. And that's what I mean. That's why I'm drawing really light. Because there's going to be things that I need to rearrange. So if I bring this down, and like I said, we'll bring it back up and come around. And so I just need to adjust this area just a little more, right? So honestly, I like the shape and the size of this is okay. So if I was doing this digitally, I would just lasso this and then just shift it down. But since I'm traditionally drawing it, I need to make all this the same size, but just slide it down some. And I think I'm happy with the distance from the top to here. So now I'll just make sure I connect where the muscles need to connect and just slide stuff down just a little bit so it'll fit right. And then we can just cut her legs off right there. And see, I'm making just some slight adjustments right here. I felt like instead of this being here, I felt like it should go up a little more. Pull in a little bit. I had the bump on her hip out here, but I think it should be up here just a bit. And because I didn't draw it so dark, I can pull it up some. And then just, I'm adding more length over here. And before I really dive in and start shading, I'm just making slight adjustments that I'm catching with my eyeballs. Okay, cool. Now I'm happy with where stuff is starting to fall, right? So now I could draw stuff in just a little darker. And also I'm drawing it in a little darker so y'all could see it too. All right, so now I can start going back here again and adding certain shapes for shadows and all that stuff like that. We got her belly button right here. She's got a weird belly button, but and then you've all seen me do the shading and stuff like that. So I'll typically go in one direction, and I'll cross hatch back the other way. I'll do some small circles. You know, until I get the right shade and everything where I want it to be. And all right, so I typically don't erase, but I wasn't paying attention. And I could live with it, but I don't want to. I am going to, because I was using this line and I used the other one. So I'm just going to slide everything over. Because if I would have stuck with and used this one over here, it's not enough. There would have been too much space on that side of the spine versus this side. So if it was somewhere else, I probably could have just left it there and not done any erasing, but because it's such a center piece, if you will, I needed to move that over. And I hate erasing. I think I've shared y'all why I hate erasing. Because I feel like there's so much energy in these sketch lines. I don't like losing that. I like for people to see where it started from. Like we can see the circle under here. We can see her hip circle, all that stuff, right? Make sure my train is still moving. And so, yeah, now I'm a little happier with where that came out at. Now I can come up here. She has a shadow under this breast this way. So the light source is coming from here. Let me get this pencil. So she has a shadow that's here. And again, I'll just lightly go in one direction. Then I'll come out with another direction this way. Because it's pretty dark, I can go in a little harder than normal. But I also want it to be smooth. I don't want to see too many, as far as the shading, I don't want to see too many cross-hatching lines. So I'll do like a little circular motion. Yes, I'm still listening. And then I can follow this line here with some shading, kind of here a little bit. And then here's the bigger one. And again, I blocked in all these shapes that I'm shading, really light though. Because eventually I don't want to see them. The shading that I'm doing, I want that to cover those shapes that I drew for the shadows. And I'm just doing circles now. So I kind of went over a couple times, like some cross hatching. But to smooth out some of those cross hatching, I'll do like a little circular motion. Let me zoom in a little bit. Like I'll do just little circles. Just to smooth it out. So it's with Brandon. I'll take a look at my email as soon as I get through with this session. Let me see. I wrote it down so I don't forget. She has a funky little shadow under here. And then she has her abs are kind of coming through like here. And this is where we pick that other one up here. Again, I'm just lightly going back and forth until I build up that that shadow, what I'm looking for. And then for this side here, very light, back and forth. And I already know this side is darker, obviously, than this side because that's where the light source is. So I can kind of lean in on the shading just a bit. Obviously, until I get to some place where it doesn't need to be that hard. But like right up in here, I can go kind of hard on it. And then again, I'll just come back in this way. And then, you have to look at your reference too, right? So you have some, I guess we'll just call them ridges, but they're like her ribs are right here. She's got muscles. And here, if we use this part right here as what I'm getting ready to explain, it's really dark, like right along that ridge, but then it starts fading out to light again. Although it's dark, it's really dark here, and it's because there's a reflective light that's happening over here. Even though there's not a secondary light, it's reflective, right? So the background of this reference, if I pull this over here, this is what I'm talking about here. The ridge is dark, but then it starts getting light again. It's because the background is white or a light color. It's a black and white photo. I'm not sure what color it is, but the light source is coming in this way. So the light source is also hitting the wall, which is causing a reflection to hit back up here. And it's light, so it's light hitting here, but then there's light bouncing off of the wall, which is causing this to get a little lighter here. But because her body is a cylinder, the light is intense right along this edge, and then it fades back off because that other light is coming back up here. I hope that makes sense, but it's reflective light from the wall that's causing that to happen. And so what I'll do is I'll dance around along this edge for a while. And then it fades out into here. I'll go another direction. Get some more lead out. So next week, I will be starting the male torso. For the most part, all principles are the same. It's just that obviously the bodies are different, right? Men tend to don't have hips like women for childbirth. Most men aren't curvy like women, obviously. But again, we'll start with the circles and whatever other kind of method. All the base will be the same, so it'll be a torso or chest part, hips, the spine, all that stuff is pretty much the same. So what I think I'll do is probably talk more about like muscle structure with dudes versus women. And how their muscles are a little different. Some are the same because we talked about pectoral muscles. And I think I'll make notes on this one here. And then put it out there on a Patreon so you guys can take a look at and see what I was doing. So I hope this is helping somebody. Also, and it'll be the same for the males too. So what's happening with these tilts on her is that weight's being shifted so she could stand in certain poses or walk or whatever. And so all the weight is on this leg here. Weight. I know you guys couldn't see that, but I wrote weight on this leg because this is the leg that's holding her body up for the most part. And that's why she's tilted like that. But in order for when you're standing and you're tilting, if your hips go this way, your shoulders need to go the opposite way. It's like what do you call that? It's like a pivot. It's a joint in a car that does the same thing. I think it's your steering. Something does the opposite. But that's kind of what the body is doing. It's because you have weight and you're shifted, it equally has to shift the other way. And it's like a ball right in here. And anything above that ball, whatever way that shifted, it shifts the other way down below. And so I'm doing big circles, little circles, tight circles, looser circles. Again, just to get the tones what I'm after. Certain tones here and there. And I'm sick of hearing this song. So if that's coming up like that, there's just a little hint of shadow here. And because I'm gonna post this, I may post it on Instagram as a promotion piece for my Patreon. I will put some black tape over her nipples. And because we know breasts are round, we know that the tape should be in somewhat of a curved position. But if we look at our reference again, and we zoom in, see if we can zoom in a little. her breast right here, there's another reflective light happening right here, right? So we have this shadow really hard here, but then because that light is bouncing back, there's a little rim light right there. Then it starts to shadow, then the shadow fades out again because the actual light is coming that way. And so I sketch that in here, right? There's a little line, so I'm leaving this as the white part. And then I'll just go in and do line work one way, some shading going this way. And then I'll come back this way. And I'm just laying down like a base, right? Nothing hard, nothing really etched in the stone. And because I have two lines going that different ways, now I'll just come in with some like very light circles to kind of smooth some of that cross hatching out. But all the while keeping that, and you can see it start forming right there, right? What site do I get my references? Honestly, all over. I don't have a site in particular. I'll scour Pinterest a lot. I was just looking at, that's where I got this reference from. I was looking on my drive, and I think I got 4 years of every day I would just go and look at Pinterest for an hour or so, just grab nude models, live models, sketching models, male, female, it didn't matter. And that's what I was talking about earlier. And drawing also, you have other things, you got references to look up, you got different type of pencils to use, everything. So searching for reference is also part of that process. But yeah, I use everything. There's not just one particular place I go to. Everything's reference. And when I say 4 years, I think maybe 4 or 5 years. It's every day. So each month, every day there's, 20, 30 pictures of just reference of a lot of stuff. Not just anatomy, but dragons, snakes, all type of animals. In each folder within each of those months, I got them labeled like 111, 112, 13, blah, blah, blah. Then it goes 21, 22, 23. So I label each folder the day that I've searched in there. And I was kind of shocked that I had that much stuff in there. But now here I can go in just a little harder, just so I can make sure there is a definite shadow line here. And then I'll just fade it out to nothing up here as it gets, because it's curving like that. But yeah, I have a ton of reference, just a bunch. And again, now we're starting to get up into her shoulder and arms and all that stuff, so I'm not too concerned with that. And then if we do the other breast, she has more of a shadow happening here. But again, there's still that reflective light that's happening on that side. So, and I'll come this way. And because my reference, like I said about this ridge right here, there's a ridge here. Even though it's not bone, it's still really dark, like right here in the middle. And then it fades out that way and fades out here just a little bit. So I know I can go in a little darker right here in the middle. And then we could pull back again and just take another look at it, right? And kind of see where we are with our reference compared to the actual, or the reference compared to the drawing. I think it's close. That's a lot of years. I searched on there too. Need more practice and time for anatomy. I find myself starting a piece and midway stop because I'm not sure how to finish a body part pose. So if you look at those other videos that I posted, that's kind of what I've been talking about for the most part, right? When you start, and after this whole anatomy body series is over with, hopefully you'll be a little better at finishing whatever body piece you're having trouble with. But again, I've been using reference, and so I don't have all the little lines on the one I just done, but I use these little points, which helps me figure out where those other body parts go. And I think that's what I want people to really get, because it's always that question, right? Proportion and certain body parts don't line up right. If we look at, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit, and I want y'all to see these different body parts that I've used as reference. So here I marked like both nipples I use as reference, the outside of the breast I use as reference, the bend in her hip right here, her waist I use reference. I slid it over, but I used the belly button as reference, right? And what I typically do is just draw straight lines coming down, straight lines going across, and I'm doing the same thing as I'm looking at the reference. And so if we were to zoom out from her, I'd do the same for everything else, right? So now I would use this as a reference point and then pull that line down and see like, okay, where does her knee end up at? You know, I'd use the bottom of her vagina as a reference point. what comes across here. So, right, if I look and come straight across, I notice bend is somewhere in that vicinity. If I use the inside of her breast as reference as I come down, what falls here as I keep building on what I've done here, right? The same with her hands and head and all that stuff, right? If I use this nipple and go straight up, I know there's a little gap, but her hand is somewhere in here. So if I use my reference and go up, I know her hand should be somewhere in that area. So the reference points are life for me. And I think that's where a lot of artists don't explain that to people. They do the whole heads thing and I think a person is supposed to be 7 or 12 heads, however many heads. They go through the circles of how your chest is supposed to look and your hips and all that stuff, but I feel like the reference points will tremendously help out a lot more, because that's what you're looking at. You're looking at, the whole picture, and you're trying to mimic that reference as you're drawing. You need reference points. It's like driving. You're starting I'm in Atlanta and I want to go to Nebraska. I gotta have reference points. I gotta have, okay, I'm gonna take 85 north or 75 and then start wherever. Oh, I'm gonna make a reference point at Tennessee and then start going a certain way. It's the same with this. I know in my head where Nebraska is, but I don't know how to get there. I see this picture, right? And I see all these different parts. I see her elbow and hand, breast, stomach. I don't know how to get there just yet. So now I got these reference points to help me get to my final destination, which is a drawing or Nebraska. And like I said, I think most artists that are out there teaching don't stress enough on reference points, right? Because at some point, you got to have some muscle memory and you need to know how the body moves and stuff like that. But you still, when it comes down and you're wanting to do like a really nice picture of something, you need reference points and how to get there. So yeah, with all that said, I think we are done with Women Anatomy. I think I got close to what I wanted to do with this figure this evening. And like I said, next week we will start the male torso. It'll be a lot of the same, like I said, the spine, the circles for the torso and stuff, but then we'll start using those reference points again, and showing how the male torso is more straight and not curvy, and the chest is a lot more broad, the shoulders are broader. So I'm excited. Excited that y'all hang out with me and that we get to talk art for the most part. So with that said, I will see y'all next week.